The car was sitting in front of the shop again like it knew his routine, but it was so big and particular that it stood out like a sore thumb to him. Easing into a parking bay, he decided in a split second to walk straight up the vehicle and have a look at who the occupants were. He tapped on the window and waited for someone to open the door. He loved three things: his family, dogs, and cars. So when Jake Holloway noticed a particular silver Jeep frequenting his local Walmart and Target in Altoona, Iowa, he immediately took notice. The car was always parked at one shop or the other, and it made Jake a little nervous that it never seemed to go very far. Every time he saw it, the same thoughts went through his mind. Who drives it? What are they always doing here? And, of course, nice ride. As soon as he was inside the store, he forgot ever even seeing it, until the next time he found himself out shopping again. Was he the only person seeing this? It would take Jake weeks before the curiosity was strong enough to find the answers to his questions, and in the end, he would need one final push over the edge which compelled him to actually go near the silver Jeep. It happened to be a sticker stuck on the back bumper of the car that finally made him take the plunge. It was a day like any other, except that this time the Jeep was very close to where Jake parked. That's how he saw what he did. Proudly there for the world to see, an "I served" in Iraq decal sticker. Jake couldn't take it anymore. He had to know what the story was behind this Jeep and hanging out at Walmart. He parked the car. Before he could talk himself out of it, he quickly got out of his Toyota, slamming the door shut behind him. He walked the short distance to the Jeep and stopped outside. Sunlight reflecting off of the windows made it hard to see if anyone was inside at all, so lifting his hand, he knocked firmly on the window and stepped back. The driver's door was pushed open and there was, presumably, the owner, looking back at Jake. To get the conversation going, Jake opened with some car talk, complimenting the owner on his ride and introducing himself. He soon learned that there was more to the silver Jeep than he had ever thought possible. The man's name was Nick, and Nick had a story to share. Just as Jake had suspected, he was a veteran returned from the war effort, but what he wasn't expecting was the tale that followed. Nick had just returned from his fourth and final tour to find out that his wife was leaving him, and it got worse. He had nowhere to stay and no money left, so he did the only thing that he could. He went to look for a job, slept in his car, and tried to get enough dog food to feed his boxer. He had been sleeping in his Jeep for some time when Jake finally decided to have this chat. Jake couldn't just leave Nick like this, so he decided to do something about it. After saying their farewells, Jake went home and immediately jumped on Facebook. He wanted to share not only the experience of meeting a veteran but also Nick's plight. I see a lot of people out there posting about wanting to help people for the holidays. Here's my request. I don't know this guy from Adam and I don't know his whole story. There's been a silver Jeep Wrangler in the Walmart and Target parking lot in Altoona for the last few weeks. It moves from time to time back and forth. Noticed an "I served" Iraq sticker in the back window today and I finally got the nerve to stop. Told him I liked his Jeep. He liked my Toyota. Jake's social media message began, and I asked him if he was alright. He told me his name was Nick, and after he had got back from overseas his wife left him with his Jeep and his dog. He's got no money and broke as a joke. Told me he just got a job at the Department of Transportation, but hasn't been paid yet. Said he had started selling things off the Jeep to have any money at all. Jake continued writing, stating things just as they were, showing the sheer helplessness of the old veteran's situation. It broke my heart. If you want to do something for someone out of pure selflessness, please? Jake said, imploring others to help. If you see him, out of the kindness of your heart, do something nice for him or his best friend, the boxer dog. Few bucks. A gift. Some dog food. That's my request. Makes me sick to see a soldier on the street. Jake's post soon made its way to almost everyone in Altoona, and hearing about Nick's tragic situation, a small army of people were lining up to do what they could for him. It seemed the story touched everyone's hearts and the community responded in a huge way. Within just a few short hours things started happening. People were showing up at Nick's Jeep to offer what they could: money, gift cards, and even dog food for his loyal boxer dog. The biggest gift was a weeks-long, fully paid stay at a hotel for Nick and his dog. Nick now has a warm place to rest, and his best friend is taken care of. If you enjoyed this story, then wait for our next story starting in 10 seconds. They began to demolish the building, tearing down walls and floorboards until they reached the far wall that was lined with old wooden cabinets. As they broke through them one by one, they saw something that didn't belong. It was small and made from black fabric, wedged behind. They lifted another board, and then another until one of them could reach inside to pull the mysterious object out. It was an old purse. When they looked inside, everybody was floored. Workers were well into the demolition of Jeffersonville High School in Indiana when they stumbled upon the incredible find. The building had been there for decades, and now it was time for a complete remodel to make way for a new elementary school. The workers went about their day as usual, but nobody ever expected to find a mystery that day. Amid the rubble and rotting wood behind the old built-in cabinets was a time capsule. The old clutch purse they pulled out was in amazing condition. It was an ordinary-looking purse, but when they opened it up and looked inside, they realized that the purse's contents were far from ordinary. The room the workers were demolishing had been an old science classroom. Hundreds of high school children had learned about life, love, and the periodic table of elements within its 4 crumbling walls. And the owner of the purse was one of them. But who did it belong to? They started to rifle through the purse's contents, and they didn't disappoint. Kevin Moran and Mike Hobbs recalled later, "We didn't know if somebody had stolen it and gotten rid of it. There's no telling what the backstory is," he said. "We couldn't figure out how it even got back there, unless it slipped in behind the lockers or something. You could tell it had been there a long time, that's for sure." Inside the purse was an old pin, carefully kept in its cotton-lined box. Then, they found a well-loved lipstick in a striking shade of coral. Whoever the purse belonged to was definitely a young lady, they concluded. But the most tantalizing find was still to come. They found an old bus schedule for Charlestown, and a first-place ribbon for the mile relay, but it was the date on the bottom of the ribbon that made the workers take a double take. That was when they truly realized that what they held in their hands was none other than a precious glimpse into a high school girl's world, so long ago. The date on the ribbon read 1954, and the workers were astounded to realize that the purse was over 60 years old. Most surprisingly, all its contents were perfectly preserved and intact. They kept pulling item after item out of the clutch purse, and their astonishment only grew and grew. There were old and faded photographs, a basketball schedule for the 1953-1954 school year, clippings of 1954 newspaper articles, juicy fruit wrappers, and a wallet with a social security card and ID. The mystery owner's name finally came to light, Martha Ina Ingham. But it was the letters inside the purse that stirred the most attention. One heartfelt letter read, "Dear Marty, I've heard that Paul has asked you to go to the prom with him. If he hasn't, I would like very much to take you. P.S. If you have already consented to go with Paul, please forget that I have asked. If he has asked, but you haven't consented yet, please consider my invitation. Love, Torchy." There was also a second letter. The second letter was from a boy named Carter, where he explains, "Bobby and I aren't going back together. I'm just continuing to walk her to classes. I am just going to date everybody and be friends with everybody." It ends with, "I think Paul is an alright guy. But you'll never catch him, he runs too fast. Ha, ha." Erin Boyorquez, the spokeswoman for Greater Clark County Schools, was alerted to the amazing discovery and its contents. She immediately took to social media to try to locate Martha Ina Ingham, the purse's owner. Facebook was abuzz with the discovery, but netizens seemed to have one burning question. Everyone wanted to know who Martha had gone with to prom all those years ago, and more importantly, if she had eventually married one of her suitors. People shared the Facebook post furiously in hopes of getting an answer to the question posed in the 65-year-old letter. So, who had Martha decided to go to prom with? Will we ever know? The evidence was all right there, inside the old purse. There was a photograph of Martha with an unidentified man at her prom. But who was it? Was it Paul, Carter, or Torchy? Everyone waited with bated breath to see if she would be found. But 65 years is a long time, she must be in her 80s by now. Then, one day, something incredible happened. Jeffersonville is a small city in Indiana, so I posted the photograph on our social media sites thinking she would still reside locally or have family still in the area. I'm thankful for the power of social media and for everyone that shared our post as it led me to connect with Marty's son, Erin Boyorquez said in an interview. And even more surprising, Martha was found alive and well, living 1,000 miles away in sunny Florida. I'm thrilled that I was able to locate Marty. I hope this little piece of history brings back fond memories of her years at Jeffersonville High School. The purse was mailed to her yesterday, Erin explained. We hope to answer the community's question, and now the nation's question, soon about who took Marty to prom, she added wryly. Finally, the big question that netizens have been clamoring for the answer to can be answered by Martha herself. She looks through her old purse with tears in her eyes, and a wide smile on her face. Marty Ingham, now Marty Everett, reveals all. It brings back a lot of memories and a lot of people I haven't heard of in a long time, Marty told Inside Edition. What a good time we had in high school, really interesting to me, things about my life that I'd forgotten about. When Martha read the letters, she was astounded to find them intact from 65 years earlier. If you think about it, these boys wrote letters and you would never see that today. They would text you, so that's such a big difference, she said. And then she answered the question on everyone's lips. Martha revealed that it was Carter she went to her senior prom with, the same boy who had written the letter explaining that he wanted to date everyone. Finally, the answer everyone had been waiting for. And what an incredible story. Could you imagine finding a perfectly preserved time capsule behind an old cabinet?